The first thing everyone learned about Luke Calder was that he did not belong to anyone. The second thing was that trying to tame him usually ended in heartbreak. He rode into Red Willow just before dusk, dust clinging to his coat like a second skin, his horse moving with the weary intelligence of an animal that had crossed too many miles to count. People noticed him the way you notice a storm building on the horizon, quietly at first, then all at once. Mara Ellison noticed him because he did not look back. Most men did. She stood on the porch of her aunt's boarding house, sleeves rolled up, hair pinned high against the heat. She'd been scrubbing the railing when Luke dismounted across the street, boots hitting the dirt with a finality that felt deliberate. He tied the reins, tipped his hat to no one in particular, and walked toward the saloon as if the town were merely something he was passing through. That, more than anything, caught her attention. Red Willow was not a place people passed through without leaving something behind: money, trouble, or regret. Luke Calder carried all three in the way he moved. Mara first spoke to him 2 days later. He had taken a room at the far end of town, the kind of place that asked no questions and offered no comforts beyond a bed and a lock that barely worked. When he showed up at the boarding house for supper, it was because he'd been told the food was real and the owner didn't cry. He sat alone at the long table, shoulders broad, posture guarded, eyes sharp even as he ate. Mara set a plate in front of him without ceremony. "Beans, bread, and stew," she said. "Coffee if you want it." He glanced up then, and for a moment the room seemed to narrow around that look, gray eyes, steady and assessing. "Thank you," he said, voice low, worn like leather. She nodded and turned to leave. "You're not from here," he added. She paused. "Neither are you." A corner of his mouth twitched. Fair enough. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. They circled each other for weeks. Luke took work on the outskirts of town, repairing fences, breaking horses no one else would touch, riding escort for a cattle drive headed north. He spoke little, drank sparingly, and left early. People whispered about his past in the way they always do when silence leaves room for imagination. Mara heard the stories but didn't repeat them. She saw instead the way he softened around animals, how his hands gentled even the most skittish mare. She noticed how he always paid fair, how he never looked away from his mistakes, how he watched the horizon like something might come riding out of it to claim him. When they did talk, it was brief but honest. "You don't smile much," she told him once, handing him coffee. "Smiling gives people the wrong idea." "And what idea is that?" "That I'm staying." She held his gaze. "Are you?" He didn't answer. The night everything changed. The sky cracked open with thunder. A summer storm rolled in hard and fast, sending people scrambling indoors. Mara was closing the shutters when she saw Luke riding hard toward town, rain already soaking through his coat, lightning flaring behind him. He pulled up sharp in front of the boarding house and dismounted, jaw tight. "I need a place to wait it out," he said. "Just for the night." "You already know the answer," she replied. Inside, the storm roared like a living thing. The house creaked, candles flickered, and the world beyond the windows blurred into darkness and rain. They sat across from each other in the parlor, the air thick with things neither had said. "This is a bad idea," Luke said at last. Mara folded her hands in her lap. "Why?" "Because I don't do half measures. And I don't do safe." She leaned forward. "I didn't ask for safe." He stood, abruptly, pacing once, then stopping in front of her like a man arguing with fate itself. "I'm too much for you," he warned. "I don't stay. I don't settle. And I leave wreckage behind whether I mean to or not." Mara rose slowly, meeting him eye to eye. "Then don't protect me from a choice I'm making," she said softly. The thunder boomed overhead. For a long moment, he just looked at her, really looked, as if trying to decide whether she was brave or reckless or something far more dangerous. She closed the distance between them, hands resting lightly against his chest, feeling the steady thunder of his heart beneath her palms. "Try me anyway," she whispered. What followed was not rushed, not careless. It was a quiet understanding unfolding in the half-light, a connection built from shared breath and shared truth rather than promises neither was ready to make. The storm raged outside, but inside there was only the sense of two people choosing the moment they were in. When morning came, the world looked washed clean. Luke stood at the window, shirt in hand, the familiar restlessness back in his posture. "You'll leave?" Mara said, not accusing, just stating fact. Yes. When? Soon. She nodded. Then don't lie about coming back. He turned to her then, eyes serious. I won't. They parted without drama. That hurt more than any argument would have. Months passed. Autumn came. Then winter. Mara carried on with her life, helping her aunt, planning a future that did not hinge on waiting. Luke became a story she kept folded carefully in her chest, neither romanticized nor regretted. Then one spring morning, she heard hoofbeats outside. She didn't run to the window. She didn't need to. Luke stood there, older somehow, more settled, dust on his boots and something like hope in his eyes. I told you I wouldn't lie, he said. Mara smiled. Slow, certain, and unafraid. Good, she replied, because I don't do half measures either. And this time, when he stepped inside, he closed the door behind him.